Hey, Sassy Stuff. I'm Bailey here today with Emma, and today we're talking all about the strategies needed for Ohio State or Notre Dame to come out on top as the national champions.
So Bailey, how are you feeling about each one of these teams? Let's touch on Notre Dame first. And one thing I love storyline wise for Notre Dame is, of course, Coach Marcus Freeman was a former Ohio State linebacker, so he is going back to his alma mater where he played football. So that's really cool that he gets to match up against his former team. So looking at Notre Dame, what do they have to do to beat Ohio State in the national championship?
I think Riley Leonard said something really interesting that I think is going to carry this team into this game, and that is that culture always wins. And the fact is, having Marcus Freeman, having been a former player, there is that sort of sense of pride where you do want to come back to a fan base and be able to show the progress that you've made. Whether you are necessarily beating them or not, there's still, I think, a level of pride that comes along with it that is going to be really important to show up in. What is going to be so crucial, though, for Notre Dame heading into this is to really, really play those passing yards. Their defense is number one on pass efficiency. And if we're looking at how Texas played against Ohio State, having that really similar strategy where they're going to be pushing Ohio State to really play in the hash marks, that's going to be what sets them apart from any other team that Ohio State has really and truly faced throughout this entire season so far.
They really need to control the pace with the run game. You have to utilize Riley Leonard's legs. They've gotten you very far this season. He has the ability to extend plays, execute design runs, scramble when it's crucial. And I think it will be crucial a few times against Ohio State. He is also great at avoiding sacks, and he's great at red zone efficiency. So if you can get him out of the pocket, if Ohio State doesn't contain him, you have to open it up for him. I think he can do some great things with his legs. And then also you got to balance that with Jeremiah Love. Lean on Love's tackle breaking ability to keep the chains moving and control the time of possession. You really have to open up the run game here. If you don't, it's going to be a long night for Notre Dame. But if they can, this is going to be a pretty even matchup.
Well, that's what we talked about in our first episode, is that these two teams were kind of at a different situation versus analyzing other teams we've seen throughout this entire year, is that their defenses have been very, very solid and have truly been the backbones of these two teams. Where we're seeing the difference, like you're saying, is in this offensive game. If we look at these two teams, comparatively speaking, to other teams that we've talked about throughout this entire season, the defense is not the problem. They have two of the strongest defenses in the entire country. And you're very right. It's going to come down to this offensive line. And if we're able, if you're looking at the defense, though, too, Notre Dame is undersized in the front seven of defense, but it did hold its own against teams like Georgia and Penn State by causing the chaos in the offensive game. If you're saying, if they can really maximize Riley Leonard on the offensive runs, we're going to be in a really unique spot. However, if Will Howard continues to show up in the way that he has post the first couple of games this season, and we're watching his consistency go up, and he's able to overcome that hand injury that he's facing, Ohio State still has a really great way to be able to maneuver this game. It's also going to come down to who can strategically run down the clock enough to be able to put the pressure on each team.
And I think for Notre Dame, they're really going to have to make Ohio State's offense one-dimensional, because this is a very complex and flourishing offense. They have so many weapons in their running back room and their wide receiver room. Will Howard is sensational. So if you can take something away from them, then they become a much easier offense to beat. So either load the box, put pressure on Will Howard, or win in coverage with your cornerbacks Christian Gray and Leonard Moore. They have to step up. And I know that they like to play man a lot, but really adopting a little bit of what made Texas so successful, which was playing zone. So that is a key for me for Notre Dame to win.
And another thing that I think we don't really talk about often enough is that in these playoff games, the fan bases that travel are the ones that really can help deliver this sense of culture to the actual game itself. And Ohio State fans are incredibly loyal to their team.
Yep.
Notre Dame fans are as well. But from a true, magnitude of fan bases, Ohio State is one of the largest programs in the entire nation, let alone one of the largest fan bases. And so also, however they can be able to infuse that culture for either side into this particular arena, Mercedes-Benz, is going to be so crucial into delivering an extra essence of culture and an extra essence of competitive spirit.
Yeah, I am excited to see who travels more, because they're both up north. So I'm like, who's going to come down to Atlanta more, Ohio State or Notre Dame fans? And I know we have a ton of Notre Dame and Ohio State fans already in the city. So I want to see kind of who comes in, who wins the crowd a little bit who makes it a little bit more of a home game, or will it be evenly matched in the crowd? Because, the crowd can really help you out.
Well, and plus, I mean, this is the first time that Notre Dame has been playing the national championship since 2013. This is the first time Ohio State has made an appearance since 2020. Both these fan bases are hungry for a win, and both of them are going to continue to show up and show out in the way they can to support their players. But yeah, this is going to be such an electric stadium for Mercedes fans, especially not having an SEC team there in quite some time. It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, then let's look a little bit about Ohio State. So, what do you think is going to be the key for them to win this game?
I think they're definitely going to have to maximize Will Howard, to say the least, and really push him to his level of excellence that he's been continuing to deliver at consistently, continue to hold that defensive line as much as they possibly can. Again, like we were saying, Notre Dame is undersized on the front seven. And if Ohio State can be able to find a way to actually leverage that against them, I think that they are going to be able to come out a little bit more victorious than what we would have expected. I mean, Ohio State is favored by 8.5 points right now. So this team is dominant, and we watch that in every single one of their playoff games. So if they can continue that same level of just dominance on the field against Notre Dame and really challenge the Irish to block that passing game and block that zone playing, it's really going to make a difference for Ohio State to come out on top.
Yeah, they really just got to attack downfield. They have elite wide receivers with Jeremiah Smith. Ohio State really has tools to stretch the field vertically, leveraging these playmakers against Notre Dame's younger cornerbacks. So that's a clear advantage for them. Also, with Riley Leonard, I would keep him in the pocket. Make him a true pocket passer throughout the night. Eliminate his legs, eliminate the run game. And I think you got a clear shot to victory if you do all that. This is a team that wants to run. You shut down the run and you shut down Riley Leonard, keep him in there, make him a true pocket passer. It's going to be a long night for Notre Dame.
This is going to be a very fun national championship to watch. Actually, more so than I had expected. I mean, we've been covering the SEC for the last year, which has been so awesome. But it continues to show you that FBS and everything in college football is just, it's so spectacular because it's so unpredictable. And I think this game was not expected at all from being the final two teams.
Oh, Bailey, someone asked in the comments who you thought like early in the season would have been in the Natty.
Oh, man, honestly, I had my money on Texas, like for a hot sec. I really actually did. I had Texas. I might have picked Ohio State as well. I mean, Oregon was a really strong team, though, too, going into the season. But I think, again, these AP poll rankings are really misleading. And as we watch teams actually play, that's who we really saw was consistently operating as a cohesive unit. And unfortunately, I mean, love Texas to death. Don't tell Molly I said this. We watch them, they start off really, really strong, and then they just kind of like fizzle off in the end of games. And so that's not something sustainable that a team going to the national championship can really be able to demonstrate. Notre Dame and Ohio State have really had excellent seasons with trickled with some losses here and there, but these are losses they've overcome though with continuing to improve as a group and acting as a cohesive team. So yeah, my entire predictions are out the roof, and I will have to reevaluate everything for next year, but it's fun to say the least.
Yeah, going into this season, I thought it would be Oregon there at the end, and then a Texas or a Georgia. Were kind of what I was betting on, but it has been an interesting season, like you said, and I am excited to watch this game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Like you said, both of these teams haven't had a natty in a while, and so this is gonna really revitalize these programs. This is exciting for both of these schools, for these fan bases, to see their teams in the national championship this year in the first ever 12-team playoff. So it has been so much fun. Let us know in the comments who you think is gonna win. I have already picked Ohio State to win. I just think they have too many offensive weapons. I think their defense is too strong, and I think they will wear Notre Dame down at the end of it. But what about you? Who are you picking?
I'm picking Notre Dame. I think that there's such an edge here with this team, with Marcus Freeman being the head coach, wanting to come back and be able to show his former program what all that he's accomplished. I also think the fact that Notre Dame's lost to Ohio State in the last 6 times in their 9-time matchups, I think that there's this desire for a win. And like Riley Leonard said, this whole culture mentality, I think, is really unifying the Notre Dame team. So I'm picking Notre Dame in this. I think it's going to be barely just a little bit of an edge, maybe 3 or 4 points at most. But I'm excited to watch this game. So be sure to tune in to the National Championship on January 20th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, broadcasting from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta.